is an editor as well as a poet, most recently of Metabolist Press volume Untamable City, Poems on the Nature of Houston. Sandi Stromberg's poem begins on page 122. Please welcome Sandi Stromberg.
But like everyone else, I'm delighted to be here and also to have a poem in the book. And it's always, I find it difficult. I only have one poem, so I get to choose another one. And so I'm going to read tonight the two grandmother poems in the book. You know, bring the grandmothers in the room. I was thinking until today I had the only close relative poem in the book, and then I saw, no, there's another grandmother poem. So mine is on page 122, and one of the best conversations I ever had with my mother was, a couple of years ago about her mother who died when she was 12. And it was a wonderful conversation. She just went on and on for a couple of hours, and I took notes. So this poem comes out of that. And at the end of each stanza, there's a quote, and I'm going to pause just a moment before I read the quote and then go on to the next stanza. Damp to dust. Oneida's come to care for me and brought her cold. It seeps through my thinning skin, slips down my throat, yet peace reigns in our rose-red room. From the bed, I can watch my children walk to school. Each day, James whispers, "My Dutch doll." It was 1916 when I abandoned Indiana for dry country, a cure, long clacking days on trains, apple orchards in Missouri, small corn in Kansas. In Texas, I wrote in my journal, unfamiliar energy has filled my porous lungs. October now, the dusty cotton picking season. In a rising fever, I relive opening the door to James, his fingers clutching a white Stetson, ranch hand, widower with small children, his jealous mother sniping, fortune hunter. Oneida brings me broth with bits of chicken, vegetables she's cut. With little money, but plenty of thread and love, I've feather-stitched a life as fine as my quilts, survived the birth of our 3 sons and a daughter. Why shouldn't I have what other women do? And music. I finger the keys and stops of the pump organ my father shipped, my fair-haired daughter pushing the pedals. We entertain the pastor when he comes to bless and savor my butterscotch pie. A holy creation, this, Carrie Elizabeth. I don't regret the Texas Panhandle. 20 years it's given me, more than Indiana's rolling green damp could have done. James sits helpless by my side, my fever resisting interference, the doctor affirming what he said would someday come. I had 2 grandmothers who were Victorian invalids, so kind of an interesting heritage. And the other poem is on page 176, and it's by Melissa Jones Brewer. And it's about her grandmother, Helen Ruth Jones, who moved away from East Texas to the small town of Richland, New Mexico in 1936. She was the second oldest in her family and was 14 when they moved to Richland. And she recently returned to Richland to find that the town was gone. So she's written this poem about her grandmother called Homing. Where I stand stood a 2-room school of sorts. A road right there that cut to a church. Another that stopped at my family's milk wash door. I'm pretty sure the P.O. was on a corner here, or was it there? Where now lies a rogue cotton boll blown over from Homer Hitt's big field. It's been so long, but I hear them all yelling, my 10 brothers and sisters fighting over the one dog in town, the one I hid in the trunk back in Texas. Apart from thirst, he survived the 500 miles happy, better than my mother, who never quit crying. Too many coyotes, no roses, and no friend to help mend skirts ripped by prickly pear and caliche. But this is where I learned to wrestle with the best of the boys and where I first touched my husband. I can't recall when everyone fled or why it wasn't so bad. I would have stayed had my baby not come so soon and my father not coaxed us all again to another naked place. My great niece guides me to my Buick and guesses which pasture leads back to asphalt. At home, she'll look it up. Richland, best time to visit, anytime. Remains nothing. And we'll rest on the porch and watch the bobwhite lure his mate to bed, a shy whistle.
Thank you, Sandy. We've come to the end of the first half of our program, so I think maybe we'll take a 10-minute break and reconvene very soon. So we'll see you in a minute.
Lots more good stuff to come, so
Lots
don't
more
leave.
good stuff. Don't go away. Plenty of books to browse and buy at the table over in the back.